My name is Markus Vähälä, and I'm from Finland, from CHEQUE, the Central Association of Wellbeing and Culture, and also
Nice.
representing the Citizen Network. And Varun is the country coordinator of India in Citizen Network.
Great.
And we are
Great
now
to-
streaming live on Facebook.
That's
So,
great.
That's great. And Mr. Michael Bierman from Los Angeles will be hosting today. So we have an international crowd and a lot of people watching also outside this Zoom discussion. So people are joining in. And Varun, let's have some time for discussion too.
Yes, I propose to finish in 20 minutes so
Very
that we
good.
have more discussion.
Yes. And if you have time, we continue with the poverty action after this Action Monday on
Yes.
the same channel. So if you have time.
Yes, we can. We
then
should. Yes. I think Alastar is here. Has he come in?
Keith is coming. Pete is here. Simon is coming.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. We have Rafael from Kenya.
No, I'm from Brazil actually, but I
Oh,
live
you're
in Finland.
from New Zealand. There's another Rafael coming in from Kenya.
Ah,
Hello.
Hi, Riku. Welcome to the Action Monday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right on time.
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm so glad that so many of us are here today, sharing this very interesting topic with Varun and the world. I'm so excited
Okay.
because this is the first time that we're also streaming this like it would be the festival time, if you remember. So we are now streaming live to Facebook as well. So all of you, if you're on Facebook at the same time, please share that stream so we could get more people watching. I will also put the link of the No Labels No Walls Facebook page where you can find the stream link, so it's easier to share. But it's about time, 7:01 in Finland, but there's people around the world, and my lovely brother Michael Bierman from Los Angeles will be hosting today. So please, Michael.
Yes.
How are
thank
you in Los Angeles?
Michael.
Hey. Well, hey, Varun. Welcome, everybody. So glad to have everybody here. So let's just go around real quick because you want to make sure we have time for discussion, everything. Just say your name, where you're from, and just a little bit like something about yourself. So I'll start with Raphael.
well, thank you, Michael. I'm Rafael from Brazil, but I'm living in Finland now. And I'm here working for CHEQUE to support the network. So I'm slowly arriving in the team. So I hope to contribute and give my best here. Thank you.
Thanks, Raphael. Roger.
Hi, everybody. Good evening, good morning, afternoon, whatever's relevant to you. I'm in Huntington Beach, California, and just glad to be part of this No Labels, No Walls things. And glad to be part of the world citizenship, I guess. All right, thank you.
Pete.
Hi, everybody. I'm Pete Richmond. I'm from Scotland. I work for an organisation called Partners for Inclusion, and I've also been involved with Man of a Day for the last 12, 15 years, I think now.
Hi, thank you. Riku.
Yeah, hi. This is Riku Turpeinen from Helsinki, Finland, and I had a real great festival and also a gig for the conference in Helsinki, which was streaming to 20 countries, and that went real well too. And looking for a nice conversation tonight.
Great. Alistar.
Hi everybody, I'm Alistair also from Scotland. Glad not to be flooded out because we've had a bit of rain here lately. Looking forward to tonight's session, and just checking, Marcus, you know that I'll be sharing the updated slides for Varun.
Great. I'm Dr. M.S. Guzion. Hope I pronounced that correctly. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute, doctor. Nope, you're still on mute. Hold on. Ask to unmute, maybe.
Dr. Meherban?
Yeah, we'll have to get back. We'll have to get back to Dr. MS. H. Kawatra. Yes.
Kawatra.
Now she's on mute. You're on mute. Oops. Oh.
Mr. Kawatra?
Oh, now I got you. Yes.
Patra, I'm retired advisor to UP government in Lucknow and was one of the founder members of Anvodaya in Lucknow.
Thank you so much. Keith.
Hi everyone, I'm Keith from In Control Scotland. I'm sitting in my attic here in Glasgow. I'm pleased to be in No Labels, No Walls Action Monday and to hear from all our global participants.
Fantastic. Simon.
Hi, I'm Simon Duffy from Sheffield in England. I'm the director of the think tank, the Centre for Welfare Reform, and with Marcus run Citizen Network.
Now, Dr. MS Guzian, can you unmute yourself and then you can speak if you unmute yourself.
I'm unmuting.
Perfect.
Namaskar.
Yep, now I can hear you. Perfect.
Okay. I am Dr. Gusain from Dehradun, Uttarakhand, India. And I am professor of history. Professor Varun Vidyarthi with this group. And I am here to listen to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Michael.
Hi everyone, my name's Michael. I'm the chairperson of Stay Up Late, and it's nice to see everyone again.
Thank you, Michael. Pia.
I have to unmute. Hi, my name is Pia. I'm here in Helsinki, Finland. I have been with No Labels, No Walls since 2018. I have a master's in adult education and lifelong learning, and I've done all kinds of different things in my life. And now I'm here because I've got nothing else to do on a Monday night. Thanks.
Perfect. Great reason. Thank you, William.
I think I've managed to unmute myself, and the fact that I'm under the sea, down where it's better. Take it from me. You're safe from Donald Trump. Well, it's rained that much that above my desk at work, the water came through and it's now flooded. So that's why I'm under the sea. I'm properly living in a fish tank. So yeah, the weather's been rainy, and I am vice chair. So I keep Michael in check as vice chair of the Stay Up Late Scotland Committee, as well as knowing Keith, making sure that Keith behaves. In several roles, I've known a rather older looking gentleman now than, so lockdown hasn't been so good to you. I'm sorry, Pete. I know Pete very well. I see that somebody's growing more hair on his face and losing on his head, Alistair Minty. So that's an introduction to myself. And of course, I can be cheeky because I am the Prime Minister of No Labels, No Walls.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Appreciate it. PM Saxena. You're on mute.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me try again.
Namaskar, I am Professor Sheila Mishra from University of Lucknow. I am Professor of Statistics, and I came to know about this wonderful program through Mr. Varun Vidyarthi, who connected to me. And I really felt like joining this great initiative of No Boundary, No Wall. So as a global family, we must work together for the well-being of everybody on the earth. So thank you so much for making me a part of it. Thank you.
I am PM Saxena, a member of Manvodaya team. I am a retired Deputy Commissioner in UP Government of India, and I am associated with Shri Aurobindo Society, Pondicherry. I have been publishing a magazine on Arvindonian philosophy and have been associated with Manvodaya also for a long time. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
And I attended the last meeting also with No Labels and No Walls. It's such a pleasure to meet all of you there.
Great to have you. Sunil.
Oh, hi. My name is Sunil Muralidhar Shastri. I am Director of Ocean Governance Limited, a small consultancy that I run in the United Kingdom. I am a consultant, expert, and speaker in ocean and environmental governance. I hope to be speaking a couple of weeks from today on this platform. Varun and I go back to 1971, so probably I don't think anybody else can claim that. So we know each other for 50 years, and we've been friends through thick and thin. And I have always admired Varun and his work. Thank you.
Great to have you. I'm going to hope I pronounced it correctly. Aditi Modi.
Hi, I am Aditi Modi. I am from Texas, and I am daughter of Mr. Varun Vidyarthi. I have been closely associated with his work, so it's always a pleasure to hear him. Thank you.
Fantastic. Neasley.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Neasley Guerrier. I am a pastor and a chaplain here in Los Angeles, California. I work as a family life director for my church. We are just doing a lot of different work dealing with racism, diversity and inclusion, you name it, we have our hands in it, and I am happy to be here. I was so excited to be here. I almost joined at 8 o'clock instead of 9.
Welcome, Neasley. Great to have you. I'm muted. Amono Kar, did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Raj Amonkar, joining you from Goa, and have been associated with Manvodaya for the last 5 years. I'm looking forward to learning from the session tonight and see how we could work together.
Fantastic. Welcome. Chris? Nawa 4? I say that right. Sorry. Chris Nawa 4? Okay, we'll come on. Pramod Kapoor. Okay. We'll keep going. Elizabeth. Oh wait, Pramod's coming in. Hi, Pramod.
Just a minute, I think.
Yes, I hear you now. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Good evening. I'm from Calcutta. I'm associated with the development of village for organic farming since last few years. And I thought this was a very interesting discussion. So I'm participating to see how I can be helpful for our village people around West Bengal, India.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Either Chris, can you hear me now? Chris Nawafor? Yes, perfect. Hey, Chris, why don't you introduce yourself? Chris? We can hear you. You're unmuted. Just have to speak. Okay, we'll move on. Elizabeth, can you hear me? Perfect.
Good morning. So,
Hey,
can you hear me?
yes, I hear you.
Great. So, hi, everyone. My name's Elizabeth Beltran, and I am in Los Angeles. And I'm thankful to be part of this meeting this morning, and I'll look forward to what everyone has to share. Thank you.
Fantastic.
I can hear you now.
Either Chris or Raphael.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you, Chris. Now we hear you.
This is Chris Mwafo. I'm sorry, I've been having some technical issues. I'm joining you from South Africa. I'm a citizen networker, and I'm very much interested to hear what Varun has to say. Thank you.
Great to have you. Raphael, last but not least. Oh, I haven't done Cindy yet. Raphael, can you hear me? No. Okay. Vincent Toscano. Oh, there's more. Shit. Am I on mute? No. Okay, Cindy. I'm trying to get everybody, guys. Cindy.
Oh, you weren't on mute. We can hear everything you said.
Oh, well, it's my inner monologue you're hearing.
Yeah.
Cindy.
I'm Cindy, and I'm in Espoo, Finland, and I've been with No Labels, No Walls since 2018 because I started the same time as Pia did.
Fantastic.
And when Michael and Mary were here in Finland.
Okay, great to have you. Okay, so did I get everybody? I don't know.
Harish.
Oh, Harish. Harish, are you there?
Yeah, I am Harish Dwivedi. Yeah, I am from India, and I am interested in this poverty alleviation.
Thank you. Vincent, I know I didn't get you. Can you hear me? Hey, Vincent.
Hi, I can hear you. Hi, this is Vincent Toscano. I'm joining from Goa, India, and my focus and mission for the past 3 to 5 years have been to try and deliver global quality IT services from my island village of Shorao here in Goa. And we have been reasonably successful to empower the village community through delivery of IT services. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Sorry, let me just last T-ball wrap. Amon Carr. I got Amon Carr. I think that's everybody. Is there anybody who I didn't choose that didn't get to say hello? Please let me know because there's just too many people. Did everybody get to say hello? Okay. I think everybody did. All right, thank you. Oh, Mehdi, why don't you say who you are?
Hi, I'm Mary. I'm also from Sternberg Laboratory and from No Labels, No Walls. Good to be here.
And we're
Good to see you all.
And we're so excited to have everybody here. Before we go to Varun, we're going to choose real quick, so you might not have time. The next host, I get to choose who it is. So I'm going to look around, and host, just introduce everybody and then yourself. So Professor Sheila Misra, would you like to be the host next week?
Oh, the date, what would be the date?
It's next Monday, so I believe, what's the date today?
The 12th.
The 12th.
It's 12. Yes, I could be.
All right. Thank you so much. You're our first professor to be a host, so we are so excited. So that being said,
it's an honor for me.
Oh, it's an honor, yes, for us as well. We just want to say welcome to Varun. Varun, it's all yours. The floor is yours, and take it away.
Great. So, very good evening or morning to everyone. It is 9:30 or around 10 in the evening here in India. And the subject is very, very interesting, tackling poverty in injustice through self-help. I have been working on the subject for last more than 30 years now, for last 20 years, and actually training people from different parts of the world in methods of self-help. That has been so useful to the entire country. In fact, there are millions of self-help groups in the country who are already tackling poverty and injustice. And we are known as the pioneers of the self-help movement here. So I'm so happy to speak about the subject that is close to my heart, it's all about passion for me. It has nothing to do with academics or people, it's about passion. So welcome again. Can I have the next slide, please? What I wish to share with everyone is the fact that poverty and injustice is not just about not having money. A lot of people think about money. No, it is a multi-dimensional thing. There are so many causes of poverty. There are so many factors contributing to injustice. And to deal with them is not just about giving money to somebody. So in fact, it takes a long time for people to get over poverty and injustice. So whatever is done requires a very sustained effort. It could even take several years for people to get over it. And even after that, things are not very certain. So basically, we are talking about a process. It's not just about a one-time thing, and a process that is sustained over time. The second thing is, poverty and injustice is something that requires very, very deep participation of people. It's not just about going around for a protest march or doing some policy change. It requires participation of people to overcome all kinds of injustices, small issues relating to daily requirements. And therefore, for participation of people, it's not just ordinary participation. It requires inner strength for people, the courage to make things happen. It requires strong sense of discipline, because a group of people, the self-help group, if it is not disciplined, it will tear away. People will have different opinions, and without discipline, we don't move forward. A whole lot of regularity. If you really want to overcome these difficult demons, poverty, injustice, the groups has to be very regular, very disciplined, and also growing in confidence. There are a lot of instances where people start a movement, start a process, but then gradually people find nothing is happening and their confidence goes down and the whole process is destroyed. But here we want a growing confidence. We want people to feel that, yes, things are moving in the right direction and they are charged for doing it better.
Now, all this doesn't happen on its own. It requires a kind of a process of facilitation. Somebody, either from within the community or from outside, has to actually facilitate the process. It does not happen on its own. And this facilitation is now almost a science. It has been practiced by thousands of people, at least in India and now in certain parts of Africa too. And facilitators has to have certain properties, there's certain attitudes, certain values. And that leads to a process of facilitation, which has many steps. Today, we are not describing the process of facilitation, but I just wanted to say that it is a process that needs to be facilitated, and we have to identify and groom facilitators for the purpose. Finally, this process of facilitation needs a lot of very intensive training, a lot of mentoring. Facilitators also need mentoring. So we need experienced facilitators who can mentor the younger facilitators, and a lot of what we call hand-holding. Because nothing happens overnight, nothing happens over a few weeks or months, it goes on. And so hand-holding implies we should be able to find ways to resolve the problem. The community should be able to find ways to resolve the problem through hand-holding with facilitators and mentors. There's a constant need to keep in touch with each other. So it is a process that is very scientific, that has already proven its merit through millions of people, to millions of very poor people in South Asia, as well as now in Africa too. Now, this process of self-help incorporates all these items. Sustained effort, participation of people, facilitation, training, mentoring is all part of the process of self-help. And that is why I'm saying, and I implore everyone to examine the idea of self-help closely, whether you are in East or West, North or South, the process of self-help works. And I implore all of you to study it carefully and try and follow it in your own context. I'll be speaking from the Indian experience now, but then we have been training people internationally for 20 years, and I've seen that it works universally everywhere. Now, we'll share some stories of women who have been tackling the multiple dimensions of injustice through self-help now. Now, these are simple stories in the Indian context, but we have to see it in the context that it really works. The first story is, this is a historical picture. Back in the early 90s, when we just started the self-help movement, and some of the people trained by us, the NGOs, they went back to their area and said, no, this thing doesn't work. So when we went back to their area and see why it doesn't work, we realized that there was something wrong in the mechanism of working. But when we tried to explain the real process of self-help with the women there, they were able to overcome a powerful injustice being meted out to them by the local elites. The local powerful families were stopping a drain from flowing in their area. The water would spread in that area, and their mud houses, they were all very poor women. The houses were made of mud, because the mud would absorb the water and all the mud houses would fall. So these women, once they realized that, after a discussion with them, that together they are powerful, together they can go and solve a problem, they simply, 10 women from that village went and met the local elite. Before, they never had the courage to go and meet him. Together this time, 10 women met him, and he said, okay, fine, we will not stop the drain, and we will definitely allow you to stay where you are. So this is a very powerful event that happened to this group of women who realized that together they have a voice, together their voice is heard, and they can remove injustice just by being together. So very small event, but leading to lots of confidence building. And these women are now powerful to connect to governments in many places. A small injustice removed by them has played a huge role in changing their whole lives. Next slide, please. This slide is from, again, another self-help group, which was once they had submitted a check to the bank, a local bank, and the bank manager, even after a few months, said, no, we seem to have replaced the, misplaced the check, and we don't know what to do now. Now, these women were so poor they didn't know what to do. But then their facilitator and behind them, the mentor suggested, no, let all the women go and talk to the branch manager. They should not leave the case as it is. It was a check of significant amount, almost about $1,000. So we talked to the women. They said, no, together, go and meet the branch manager. Tell them that, this is not a small amount. You can't just lose the check. So this is a real photograph taken by me. All the women going to the branch manager and telling them, no, we want our check back. We will not allow the bank to operate till we get the check. The manager was quite disturbed. He said, okay. There were around 20 women all around there. Why, okay. He asked his assistant, please ask them to sit down. We'll give them some tea. The women became enraged further. They said, take 100 rupees from me, but drink tea yourself. We don't want tea. Take the tea from our cost, but give us the check. Finally what happened was the branch manager was able to locate the check the same day. What happens is when people are poor, people in authority always look down upon them, always think that it doesn't really matter. And therefore, it is what the strength of the people is what matters. And this is what leads to, conquering of injustice. And there are so many examples. We'll go to the next now. Next example. This is another case where the local powerful people in any area, we call them vested interests, those who have interest in keeping people poor. You can call it the feudal mindsets. They always find way to simply crush any movement, any effort for the poor people to come up. So this is a story of a village where these are all Muslim women, very poor. You see their mud hut behind. They had formed a self-help group and they had started some economic program for the economic livelihood. And then the local elite, the local village head felt that this is not done. These people are, getting away from the hand or clutches of this person. So he put a false case of theft, electric wire, to one of these persons. This person standing by the bicycle is the husband of one of the women sitting just next to the bicycle. So he put a false case of theft of electric wire, and this person was caught by the police and put behind bars. These women were terrified. They said, what to do? Now, they thought back that, look, a self-help group is a question of strength. We can't lose out. This is total injustice, where the police is doing injustice to us. So they, together with many other members of self-help groups, they hired a tractor, went almost 100 kilometers away in the early morning of winter, and met the police chief. The police chief was quite surprised to see so many women, children in the hands, so cold. And he listened to them carefully. He understood that some mischief is going on. He immediately called the local police, chowki they call it, and say, why have you taken this man in? Is there any particular reason? And the local, police man said, no, there is no such person by this name. He immediately allowed that man to go. Again, this is a question of how self-help groups are able to fight even, injustices committed by quite significant persons like the police. Self-help is a phenomena through which when a women can come together, or when they do come together, they are able to ward off very serious problems in their lives. Next slide, please. Injustice in the use of state funds. Everywhere in the world, every locality, village, they have funds coming from the government for doing various programs, for doing various infrastructure, development schemes. But somehow the person in charge uses it according to that person's whim. Now, in this particular area, this village used to get waterlogged during the rains. And the women felt that this is not done. There is enough money available with the village head. And so we should have a drain flowing through so to take the water outside to the pond. So they got together, went to the village head and said, look, you have enough state funds. Why don't you build a drain here? So the dozens of families will be benefited. and you are already getting funds from the state. So why not do it? Again, pressure from members of self-help groups who would not have dreamt even to talk to a powerful village head before, but they got the courage to speak about their problems and were able to remove that injustice. The village head actually made that drain, and this led to better utilization of the funds received from the state. Another example of how self-help, a process of self-help, can remove injustice from the lives of people. Next, please. Next slide. See, injustice also comes in different forms. Within the household, it's usually the woman who's at the receiving end. Men are, lying around doing nothing. Sometimes they go to the field, work there, but then women are working from morning till evening, taking care of children, cooking food, cleaning the food, even going to the fields, and they get rest only at night. Now, here, when women have started coming to self-help group meetings, they have started some economic programs, we were able to see very clearly that men had started taking care of children. This was not a kind of a women's emancipation program. Women took it very casually and men also casually, but then there was a significant difference in gender relationships. So the context of self-help is also about gender balance. More women coming out of the house, getting more respect inside the house, men taking more responsibility in the house, everything happens automatically, naturally. And I see this as a very big outcome of the self-help program. The gender injustice is all over Asia and Africa. I don't know so much about Europe and the US. I'm told there is some gender injustice there too. But self-help contributes to removing, at least reducing the gender injustice very significantly. Next slide, please. All this requires, to some extent, not just the groups, but a large number of people in South Asia, Africa, and many other Southern American countries. Women are illiterate. Even literacy is of very little value, so relevant education has to be imparted. And when people come together in self-help groups, it is very easy to organize classes for them. So this is one scene of a class for women of 2 self-help groups, where they had come together to learn about basic issues in life, cooking, taking care of children, and small issues that are useful to them. So self-help helps women to actually move towards better life through improved education, also through their own platform of self-help. Just one example. Next slide, please. This is the description or the photograph of a real school, which was opened by members of self-help groups. So we call it a self-help school, actually. Self-help groups together come together and feel that if something is wrong with the education of children, somebody contributes the balcony of the house. There are some teachers who contribute their time, and children come and study there. So this was an attempt to start a school by a self-help group. But the local elites, the rich people, the elite people, did not like the idea. They always feel that the poor should stay poor and they should not get educated. So their children found a way to beat the teacher and somehow stop the school. The school should not run. A very kind of a difficult thing. But yet, all the self-help group women came together, struggled, no, the school will run. In this case, they were not very successful and we had to help them with police as well. Because education is a fundamental right. How can somebody rich stop education? But yet this is happening in many places. Education is not happening in the right way. And therefore, self-help schools are another method through which this injustice against education is fought by people themselves. This cannot be undertaken by money. It is the spirit, it is the confidence, it is the courage that is needed to fight these small injustices. And self-help contributes to all this. Next slide, please. Okay, sometimes people do undertake these long marches also. The road marches, protests are, quite prevalent in the West. You take the case of environment, you take the case of other things, it's all, a lot of marches are done around. The marches are done here in India also. But I have found that they are not very useful. Yes, it helps in building confidence. It helps in demonstrating strength, but nothing beyond. It is more important to build the inner confidence, the inner voice, the courage through self-help mechanisms. We do undertake road marches whenever necessary. We do also undertake big meetings. The next slide, please. So occasionally, many self-help groups will come together and we'll talk about a larger purpose. Why are we here? What are we trying to do? Is there some new method, new strategy that we should be working towards? And so this is a very important week. We'll call them solidarity meetings for clarity of purpose. What are we trying to achieve really? Is it just some small group together, group meetings, or there is a purpose? Or is there even a larger purpose? So these values are discussed in larger meetings. A lot of people from different backgrounds come and share their views, and it helps in building confidence. So this is another mechanism of self-help. Next slide. But a real benefit also comes through poverty alleviation. Self-help groups are more known for poverty alleviation than for fighting injustice. Because these groups come together, all the members in a group are saving some amount, very small amounts, maybe $1 a month, or maybe $0.50 a month. This money is pooled together and is used for giving loans to a member, whoever wants it. So this is a mechanism through which small amounts of money gradually, because every month something is saved and lent out to people at an interest rate, which comes back to the group. This gradually, the amount kitty gradually builds up and women start doing small businesses. Now there are local banks around, people are watching. So when they see that a group is being well managed financially, money given out as loan from the group's own kitty comes back with interest, they come with their own funds. And this is happening all over India. Again, with the support of a bank policy to lend to self-help groups, we are very fortunate to have a very progressive national bank. With this bank support, thousands of self-help groups, in fact now millions, are connecting to banks after they have started using their own money generated through their own savings, used it through internal loaning using their own money, and shown that we are capable of handling money, we are capable of giving them out as loans for doing small business, and now we want money from the banks. So with using money from the bank, they go for big businesses like the one shown here. This is a flour mill. It's big business for a poor woman. She is now behind the flour mill. She is also attached to oil mill, and behind that there is an oil expeller, and behind that there are many more small mills. Now these kinds of activities are going around in self-help groups in a very large manner. Millions, and I am not overstating, millions are benefiting from an economic, a program for alleviation of poverty through this mechanism. Next slide. Then what really is a self-help group? Let me tell you what it is, because I've been talking about self-help. We have to see it in our context. I'm not telling you what we see it in India. It is basically a group of people with similar interests who are, you could say it's a neighborhood group. In India, we have groups from 10 to 20. And if people are living too far off, let's say in the mountain region, it could be a group of 5 also. So it is a group which is a kind of, they come together because they know each other. They can sit together comfortably, have a nice discussion, and feel that they are together. So we call it homogeneous, but homogeneous means not pushed by someone outside, but happy to be together. This small group should have a common purpose, a common vision. What are we trying to achieve? Once they do arrive at a common vision, and this common vision can be facilitated from outside, people can have a common vision on their own, then that gives the momentum to the group to move forward with that common vision. Now, there's a big issue here. This momentum has to be sustained. Having a group, starting a movement, and then falling behind is not the idea. If you have to come out of poverty and injustice, the process has to be sustained over a long time. So therefore, in the self-help group, we build economic stakes. So every member has to, give in a small amount. You can call it saving. You can call it some kind of stake in that group. Some contribution every month. All the members contribute a small amount every month, which is their part. It is not given to the group. So when they want it, if there's a serious problem, they can take back. But this kitty keeps growing over the years. Now, believe me, I have been seeing groups who have been contributing to this kitty for last 10 years, 15 years, even 20 years. And that kitty has grown to, almost $500,000 rupees. Small, very poor people, but they together the kitty over 10 years, because it's not just the monthly contribution. They give out the money as a loan to a member, which then comes back with interest. So the kitty keeps going at a phenomenal rate. And the more the kitty is, the more they can borrow again. And the more each individual can borrow from that kitty. The more the kitty, it also helps to attract more money from the bank. So it is something that works beautifully. It starts very small, but then those economic stakes leave the group very strong economically over a period of time. But it requires strong discipline. The next point here is it requires a strong discipline. And strong discipline means agreed rules by the group. All the members sit together, agree to certain set of rules that they will all follow together. These rules can be different in different places, but they have to all agree to what is our common rule. And if somebody defaults, what is the fine we are going to charge? All agreed mutually, nothing from outside. And that is why we call it a self-help group. A common vision, a common economic stake, strong discipline, and a clear mandate ahead. And with discipline, this makes this strong self-help group, and then they can achieve anything. But again, it also requires certain systems of management. So if people are contributing money, then there should be very clear accounting process. Who will keep the money? Who will keep the accounting? The group has to decide together who is educated among us, who is trustworthy. They will keep the accounts. If nobody is illiterate, as in India, nobody is literate, then they find another person in the village who is literate and who can keep the accounts for them. And they will pay that person a little amount so that that person also has an interest in keeping the accounts properly. So group management process is a very scientific thing about keeping accounts and proper accounts. They should be transparent. Everybody should know the amount of interest coming in, where is it being kept, accounting is not a simple exercise. It's quite complex, but yet it has to be simplified for the group members to understand. Keeping records. Now, all kinds of simple management processes that are done in a company level are demystified at the level of the group as well. This is something very important. We all have to learn. If we are to tackle poverty and injustice, and if we have to do that over a sustained period of time, and if we are building in economic stakes, then we must have good group management as well. And regularity. If we are having meetings once in a while, somebody is coming, somebody is not coming, it's not going to help. Regular meetings. In meetings, we discuss regularly what are the issues that are being faced by us. This regularity, this group management is all okay, but it doesn't happen on its own. And therefore, the process needs to be facilitated. This is what I am going to tell about right now. This idea of facilitation is central to the formation and functioning of self-help groups. We need to identify and train local, youths. It could be youths, it could be other facilitators of change who are interested in change. We have to identify them as facilitators. And good facilitation is what makes a good group. Now, this is something that has been happening in India for almost 20 years. And now it has also spread to other countries in Asia. Our organization, Manvodaya, trained a large number of people from Nepal. So in Nepal, they have started this whole group phenomena. They call it the self-reliant groups. They call it SRGs, self-reliant groups. All over the Nepal Tarai belt, below the mountains, this is a huge movement now. In Sri Lanka, we can find these groups. We can find these groups now in some countries in Africa, and even in Europe. In Norway, for example, a lot of students have come for us in training, in these self-help groups. And we were able to find that in northern Norway, there's a Sami group, up in near the North Pole, who are there's very little money coming in from outside there. They were successful in forming these self-help groups and also attracting funds for them to move forward and economically. Another student of ours was successful in forming self-help groups of youth in the town of Kongsvinger in Norway. So what I'm trying to say is that the principles are universal. They can be applied anywhere, and we find that it contributes to significant, economic and social change, removal of injustice, and this is something that the world should notice. We are still, the whole mechanism of social change is still driven from top by the state, by the government, by donors, and the process of self-help is still not being facilitated. We need to have facilitators. We need to train facilitators. We need to build vision in the facilitators, and the process is very human. We have to gradually, therefore, bring the facilitators to the idea of looking within. It is all about life. It is all about sensitivity. It is all about being humble. It is all about enabling others. Rather than we taking control, we are enabling others to take control. Now, this is something different. It is not taught in colleges. We are taught about management, where we control. We are not taught to talk about facilitation. So the idea here is that if we really want to remove poverty, injustice, even environmental injustice, we have to have mechanisms of facilitation. We have to identify and train facilitators who can work with communities and enable them to identify their own priorities and work on them themselves. This is a new narrative, really. And therefore, I see this problem as a problem of understanding, as a problem of a human understanding. How can we become human again? How can we become humble? How can we enable others in a manner that they take charge of their lives themselves? The donors, the philanthropic institutions, the states, they need to recognize there's a different method of enabling people. Person, even if that person is very poor, has all the capabilities to run a program itself. We only need to provide an outside facilitation process. I would like to stop here because this is something big. We have been training people in this method. A usual training program is for about a week, and the response is huge. I can tell you, lives of facilitators themselves have changed. People have even said that they felt that like they have been reborn. The way our societies are running right now, it is all under pressure. We are seem to be under insecurities, and we kind of continue to, in fact, find ways to remove our insecurities. But if we come out, be human, if we try to be humble and enable others, we'll find that this problem of poverty is actually coming because of the whole wrong mechanism, the way the economic system works, the way the government system works, the way the philanthropy works. Can we change it? This is the question. This is a challenge, and it can be done. We need to find ways of training and supporting facilitators. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Varun. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So great. So we've got, we're gonna go a little bit longer. We have about, after this, we're gonna do more of a discussion about poverty and action. I do wanna let everybody know in about 2 weeks' time, Varun and some other people from Los Angeles and other countries are doing an action, trying to start playing an action that we're all gonna take together through No Labels, talking about poverty. So please join us in that discussion. So any questions, comments, ideas that Varun kind of sparked in you that we can kind of then move forward together on? It's nice to have a discussion about poverty, but what are we all going to do about it? That's the big question. So any questions? Pia, you had one?
Yeah, I have a question. Well, first of all, thanks very much. It was very, very interesting and enlightening. And I'm very, very happy about the whole empowerment and that it has to come from the inside. I think that's really important. And thanks for that. And I wanted to know, because I have researched 12-step groups, and there the help comes from within and nobody is from the outside. So when you talk about facilitator, how much
Yes.
does a facilitator then, when you train the facilitators, do you train them on a general level so that whatever group they want to facilitate then is possible, or do they also need to have some certain form of experience or expertise in a particular field in order then to facilitate a particular self-help group?
To quickly answer your group, facilitators are at two levels. We call external facilitator means that could be a person living outside the community who wants to help, or that person could be part of a project. The person is a paid, you can say a professional paid facilitator from outside the community. So that is one level of facilitation. And the other level of facilitation is a local person who wants to do something for his own community. So there are two kinds of facilitators, the external facilitator and the internal facilitator. Both have to be very well trained. Now, the question of training a facilitator is first of all about enabling for the external facilitator at least to be able to actually enter into the right kind of dialogue. See, mostly what I have seen when people go to a community, especially the poor community, they go with an agenda, and the poor community has its own agenda. Now, therefore, a facilitator has to be down to earth, very humble, very sensitive, must have a clear vision of what one's trying to do, not impose oneself. So therefore, a lot of what we call development from within training, a person has to gradually understand that life is all about being very humble, enabling, kind, gentle. That's the same philosophy of being human. That is a very strong component of training. You can say training is the wrong word. It's kind of reflective idea sharing. And most of us actually have that within, but that has to be reinforced again. So that is one component of training. The second component is all about experience sharing of any process of self-help, which implies that when we go and when people get interested that, yes, we would like to start a group, then there are certain management systems that has to be followed, because the group has to sustain over a period of time. So the facilitator must know that what are the issues that one must take up to enable group to sustain. That could be about accounting, it could be about methods of organizing meetings, it could be about how they connect with the outside world. So many things, these external facilitators must have a clear understanding of that. And once they have it, then we use some time to enable them to experiment. So they go to the field, they come back, say, no, people are not talking to us. So we tell them, doesn't matter. It is people are not talking because they are used to talking to outsiders in that same way. So go ahead, show your determination, show your, that I'm really here to help you out, work out things with you, I'm with you. And things start happening. And that's when the facilitator gets trained and confident that, yes, I can do it. Now, in parallel, the internal facilitator also has to understand. So that takes, it's another step. So just to answer your question in short, it requires very strong, sensitive training also.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Pete had a question.
And then it works. It works.
Yeah, Roger's got one too.
Yeah, I'll get to Roger. Pete has his hand up first. Pete, thanks, Alistair. Pete.
Hi everyone. It's just really building on what Varun was saying, and to add what I think is my understanding from those first slides. Really, kind of, one might be left with the impression of that Manavidea is just a campaigning group, and it's not just a series of techniques to campaign. Some of us might have had a background in terms of political campaigning, for instance, and you learn techniques to be able to do that. Likewise, some of us might have a background in, if you like, management and leadership, and again, you learn techniques to be able to do those things, and those techniques can be important. But what Manavidea does, I think, has elements of those things, but really is about creating a state of mind within the facilitator, which creates space for other people to use their gifts and skills. And that's really quite unique in my experience. It's not just a, a therapeutic element, it's something which gives that state of mind for people then to really be able to take action. And the examples Varun gives, I think, are very powerful, And that's just a snapshot of what's been done. This has happened at lots of occasions across Uttar Pradesh, across lots of other places. The scale of it is fantastic, but it's not doing any one thing. It's about creating a state of mind and space for people to be able to build on their own gifts. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Roger had a question.
Yeah, so anyhow, mine's I want to thank Varun for sharing that with us, because I that's a big part of me. About 8 years ago, no, 10 years ago, I was part of a church, and we went to Mexico and we built houses for the homeless people. They had been wiped out. We had the rains come in, El Nino had come in, maybe it was 2008, I think. Anyhow, wiped them all out. We went there and built things. I'm a builder, tradesman, whatever. Also, I'm in recovery, and that's what brought me to the church. What the church did is they found someone in their community, and then they said, hey, we can help. We didn't go there and try and say anything other than we can build you housing, and we didn't do much. We just did better than what they did. What they had was garage doors and cardboard boxes to make houses. We came in with some wood that we got from people because we decided to adopt them, much like we adopt a kid from UNICEF or whatever. So I was wondering, do you have that kind of thing going on, where you have a particular group in that city or town, and then have, so that people sponsors it, we can donate or maybe get help to you? Is that in action right now?
Roger, my simple comment to this is a one-time activity. It comes more in terms of relief rather than a sustained change. Now, for sustained change, if I were to do that, I would first go there, have a long dialogue and discussion with them, and create their own small institutional mechanism for them to take collective decisions. And then only when they have decided to work together for some time, then also explore what are the things that they are able to bring in and how can they sustain the process. Now, when we are able to pool these things together, our resources and their resources, when they are both pulled together for a long-term vision and long-term benefit, then it helps them, or even when we have withdrawn. The whole idea is that we are going to withdraw. The outside agency withdraws after a few months or a few years, but they should be able to sustain that process so that they are able to fight their injustice or their problems over a long period of time. So that is what is self-help group. It is for a sustained period of time.
Hey, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Pramod Kapoor. Pramod Kapoor, you have your hand up?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. You're up.
It's a very good program, but what I see it in my experience, whatever has been written is very well written. This is something like a world laboratory for corrective actions. And the biggest challenge is on two folds. One is developing the weaker section to learn to accept their responsibility for themselves. And for the other side, the external facilitator to arrange for adequate funds. Because at the moment, like ours is a small group and a recent group, we are mostly free timers, giving our time and a little expenses and collecting funds from friends and relations. So one of the things this project, I mean, as a large group, if we can put a pressure on the government bodies around the world, that any donations around the world for this kind of activity should be given adequate tax relief. In fact, more than the money which they have paid, so that it works out something like sharing. And this is what I think your group can do, that. Try to put a pressure around globally.
Fantastic. It's a great idea. Very, thank you so much. So Marcus, it's now 10:02. So do you want to start leading the next part of the hour-long poverty discussion and how you want to do it? Just because I know we have about an hour more for discussion. Marcus?
Thank you, Michael.
I mean, it's an idea of looking at it as an experimental laboratory rather than just, thank you.
No, it's a great idea. Great suggestion.
Thank you, Varun, and thank you, everybody. And usually these Action Mondays, they last for an hour, and the hour is now full, but we have created more time. And this time we have is to plan together an action that happens on the 26th of October during the Action Monday. So the question is that what can we do collectively in an hour to reduce poverty? And now we had a very good idea from Varun that of the action that Manavadeya has built, but we have a lot of people here today that also have ideas of how to move forward. And I would like to lead the way first to Varun. What have you been doing in an hour digitally together collectively? What could people do during these very strange times that we are now living this year?
Marcus, we have thought about this for some time. One of the things, in fact, there are several things, but at least one thing that we have in our mind is the young students, the young generation. They have a lot of energy. They want to do something. We, if at all, because this is an online, program, if we can identify student bodies in different universities, then we could have sessions with them to make them understand that social change, development, poverty alleviation is not about giving money. It is about facilitation. So do we have somebody volunteering to identify student bodies or bodies who have international development to go across and sell this idea, because this idea still doesn't exist. Development is still seen as something to be given. The word called empowerment is a very common word. But how can people empower themselves? What is the process of facilitation is still very little known in the academic circles among students, and they can do small projects of that kind. Now, we'll even build small courses for them. We'll be happy to run these small courses for students across the world in the way, but somebody has to facilitate the process. So this is one thing that we have in mind. Can we find volunteers who can enable taking forward this process, at least sharing of the ideas to different universities and students and younger generation who want to make a difference to the world? So that is one thing we have in mind.
On the chat, you have a link to a Padlet where we can collectively collect our ideas and already best practice that we have been doing. A lot of people have been campaigning, a lot of people have been doing workshops, and we can all participate today on the planning of the action by putting our ideas to the same format. So this is also a test of how can we collectively come together and put our ideas together for shared action. Pete, how do you see in your area and in your experience about tackling poverty and injustice in 1 hour? What could be done?
Okay, quite a big question, that, isn't it, really? If, without wanting to sound too flippant, I think it's less about having any one ideas. And the whole message from Varun as such is that it's being able to listen to people, kind of. And what I mean by that is rather than thinking about what's on my agenda to stop poverty, kind of actually listening to people who as Varun said, poverty is multifaceted as well, kind of, there's lots of elements, but listening to people, to finding their own solutions rather than something being imposed from elsewhere. I think that was part of the example as well Varun was saying. So it sounds quite a flippant comment, but it's almost stopping having ideas. Maybe I'm getting to an age now where I'm slightly cynical about lots of good ideas sometimes, and just really creating that space for people to be able to come together and formulate something. Hope that makes some sense.
Thank you, Pete. And perhaps you knew that one of the Finnish partners is Who Listens to the Poor. So last in 2 weeks time before this meeting, we had an action day here in Finland about this topic. And and it's like you said that this whole day was about giving the voice to those people who have experience in poverty. And we will continue that also during this next Action Monday.
Could I just add, I suppose, in that response of that, for people who are in either professional roles or in roles where very much wanting to help other people, and that's very good, but there is always a danger of that we get in the way of people finding their own solutions. And so that's why it's that is one of the things Varun will talk about other times is just having a quietness. Now, this doesn't mean never taking any action, but just having a quietness to let other people really say what's important, because it's hard to do in a short space of time, or we get into glib comments which never really go anywhere as such. A few years back in the UK, I think in other places, there was a campaign to make poverty history. Now, no one's really going to argue with that, but did it make poverty history? Of course not, kind of, because it doesn't work like that, kind of. It's about people having control over their own lives, that way of being able to shape your own life. That makes you richer. It may make you financially richer, but it also makes you richer in the soul, because poverty isn't just about money, it's about being dominated, really, and that's what's uncomfortable for people.
Alistair had something.
So one of the things of what we're going to suggest we can do in an hour it's not necessarily for tonight, but this is like for Saturday, every second Saturday of the month. I don't think the timings are going to work for America, but we could maybe look at adding other ones later. But we're having a monthly 1.5 hour online development from within session with Varun, where we look at the links between self-reflection, self-help, and fairer, more ethical communities around the world. So it's a combination of looking at ourselves and some of the action. And I think some of the things we've been talking about is that we can develop a positive change through self-help, but it requires a level of consistency and integrity. There's lots of short-term stuff that sometimes happens, but it doesn't often, they get replaced, these little programs. And I think one of the lessons about Manavidya and the people-based development approach has been that basically you need to stick with it. You need to go, you don't just turn away at the first hint of trouble. You go to the bank with the people, you stand beside people, even when things get tough. And I think that's one of the messages for us is how do we get that strength to be able to stand beside people, not take over, but that we're going to have these discussions. And I've shared in the chat the link to the Zoom meeting, and we're just going to have these every second Saturday of every month. And anybody's welcome, so you're welcome to share it. I'm going to share this online as well, but hopefully that these will be an ongoing source of support for us to develop this idea.
Thank you, Alistair. And we will share the information on the Citizen Network website. So that's one place where we are putting this info into, and to link to Citizen Network. Simon, you were on the chat discussing about universal basic income. Is that something that could reduce poverty, and what could we do in an hour in related to universal basic income?
Yes, well, I think it does. I mean, of course, it's a government mechanism, so in a way it seems like the opposite of what Varun's talking about. But I think 2 or 3 interesting things about it mean that it's something that's, I think it is a political and economic idea that the movement should think about. Partly because it is universal. So in a sense, it's automatically grassroots. In a way, it's about taking power away from the top and shifting power to people. So it's about every single citizen having some economic resources. But I think the other thing that's kind of interesting about it is that Citizen Network, my organization, the Centre for Welfare Reform, are both very closely involved in this movement. We set up in Sheffield something called the UBI Lab Network. And the UBI Lab Network is a little bit, it's not as sophisticated in terms of facilitation skills, but it's a network that's growing in a viral way because people are learning to support campaigning actions in a very grassroots way. So it's interesting. In fact, you and I, Marcus, we're going to meet with some of the people behind UBI Lab Network to think about this a bit more. But one very simple action is it's not very difficult to just set up a UBI lab in your community. So in Los Angeles, we've got a UBI lab in Washington, DC. We've got a UBI lab in Jakarta. We have a lot of UBI labs in England and Wales, some in Europe. And that's grown very, very quickly as people are using social media. So it is of course a very, yes, it's a very social media dependent program, but we live in a time where social media is very important, and it's giving people, particularly young people and women and people with disabilities, a very practical way they can start putting pressure on politicians. We've recently, the UBI lab in Wales, within a few weeks has managed to force a debate in the Welsh Parliament. So there is power that is usefully deployed politically as well as into our local communities. And I think we have some ways of supporting that through our movements.
Thank you, Simon. And now to Los Angeles. Neasley, you've been thinking about this action already. What do you have in mind? What could we do in an hour to tackle poverty?
Well, one of the things I have been thinking about is we at our church, we run food pantries. And since March, we went from having food pantry one day on Saturday to now 2 days a week. And we're finding and it's in this, we're not, so this is not, the church is not is in actually a very high income neighborhood, right? But we find that we've gone from having just needing one food pantry one day to 2 days of food pantry, serving over 300 families each day. And we realized that the people who had been coming to our food pantry are coming from outside of the immediate community, because where they live, it's like a food desert. And so the idea was to look at food deserts, and as wonderful as food pantries are, we don't want that to be something that is a long lasting thing. It should just be like an emergency thing, but people should not be coming to food pantry 2, 3, 4 years down the line. And so the idea is to mobilize the people. Originally, it was to mobilize the people. We had this piece of property that we had seen, we wanted to purchase, and we wanted to create this community farm and allow the people in those communities to basically get a little plot and sort of grow their own food, and then have good food and not have to just buy preservative food and all of that nature. So that's sort of what was running in my head. I don't have a complete formula, but it was just the idea that popped to me when I thought of poverty in that sense.
Thank you, Nisli. And you also wrote, and I added to the Padlet already, that people could talk about why they exist. This kind of themes that are very common to people all around the world. that also linking to the Varun's talk about clarifying the goals. Why are we here for? And how do you see, Nisli, that could this be something that people could do in an hour to talk about why do we exist, linking that to the theme of poverty?
I'm not sure. It's challenging because we're coming from so many diverse places. So as Varun was speaking, one of the things I realized is as much as, I mean, I love everything he had to say, but when I started thinking about, okay, how would this actually fit in my context right now, like living in Los Angeles? And I realized it actually wouldn't work very well, because here in America, at least in the spaces I've been, the level of individualism that exists doesn't support the type of support groups that everyone was talking about. But when I thought about my country of birth, which is Haiti, I thought, now there, this principle and this setup would be perfect, right? And so I'm not sure if we can talk about why the problem exists, and we can talk about why we should have a solution in an hour, but we can't come up with a solution in an hour.
That's perfectly true. There's so much you can do in an hour, but hour is an hour.
Right.
And Sunil, you are talking about environment governance in couple of weeks. How do you see this topic of poverty in related to your expertise and the action you're doing already? How can people join that?
I guess environmental governance is about looking at. I mean, I think they're interrelated. I mean, as we can already see that just as we have political and economic refugees coming from all parts of the world, the next step, in fact, already it's happening, that there are going to be environmental refugees. So unless we look after our environment, the environmental poverty is going to convert itself into economic poverty, and it's going to then have these enormous number of refugees coming to whichever countries that they can go to, wherever they think that the environment is better, or better than the devastated environment that they find themselves in. The agriculture is suffering, water resources are suffering. In fact, when I speak on Monday, I'll probably mention this phrase. We are becoming slowly a lawless world, and lawless not in terms of I mean, of course, we are becoming lawless in that sense too, in the legal sense too, but we are lawless in terms of land, air, and water. If you take that acronym as law, land, air, and water, we are short of land. Our lands are becoming less fertile, less productive. Our air is polluted. Our water is polluted. And all of that is going to result in a tremendous amount of poverty. Somebody, I think, mentioned, I think it was Pete Richmond or somebody who mentioned UBI. I think the COVID-19 has shown us that I think UBI will be the way forward to these kind of solutions. Already, I mean, you see to some extent, there is some sort of semblance of UBI being used in the US or in here, in terms of when the president of the US or the prime minister of the UK has announced that people will be getting furloughs or paid 80% of their salary or whatever for X number of months. But that's only sort of what you call as lip service for the time being. It's only sort of quick solution for the time being. But really, what we are looking for is long-term solution. So I think these things are related. Environment is very much a subject that is
that should have been worrying us. I mean, as Greta Thunberg says, that our houses are on fire and we are not behaving as if our houses are on fire. So I think that's what it is. I was just reading today that the environmental, I was rereading an article by a friend, and she has sort of surveyed the entire environmental action history. And she talks about 1972 at least as the starting of environmental thinking and environmental action. And we haven't come very far. I mean, in my lifetime, and I'll probably again mention that when I do my talk, I was born in 1955, and in my lifetime, the CO2 percentage has gone up from 283 to 413, CO2, parts per million as measured in Mauna Loa Observatory in Hawaii. So I think those are some of the issues that directly relate to poverty. So environment and poverty, people, planet, and profit, that balance has got to be achieved. That's what I feel. Thank you. And I'll talk more about that on the 19th of October.
Thank you, Sunil. And we will get back to that topic, like you said, in a couple of weeks. Now we have Anne Brengballe from Norway. Welcome to the No Labels, No Walls Action Monday. How's life in Norway, and what do you think about tackling poverty in 1 hour? What could we do together in 26th of October during the Action Monday?
I'm sorry, but I came so late, so I would prefer not to say something, because I came just too late to understand what you are discussing now.
No problem, no problem. Varun was introducing Manavadeya, and we have people here interested in joining forces every Monday. So every Monday we have a different topic. And today our extended topic is to not only talk about, but think of what can we do together in this digital age, locally or globally. And 26th of October, we are having 1 hour where the theme is what can we do to poverty in 1 hour? What could be our shared action that people could do individually with your friends or with your organization or us as a whole? Do you have something in mind?
Okay, thank you. I will listen a little and maybe come back and say something then. Thank you.
Okay, in a minute. Who would like to continue?
I would like to continue.
Riku, please.
Yes, I've been having a question here for a small while, and I just wonder, because there's such a golden picture in television about all the poor people, and from street fighters to all kinds of African voices and that kind of program. So how we could go deeper and see that real life in poor countries and poor people, that we could understand that better.
So how can we support understanding? And I know you are a musician, and
Yes.
I know, for example, Keith is a musician as well, and many people in No Labels, No Walls are artists and working with culture.
Yes.
What could musicians do in an hour to tackle poverty?
Maybe I could sing a song, or just do something for the idea.
What do you say, Keith?
Just doing a bit of type. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just doing a bit of typing at the bottom there, actually. I was just doing a little bit of typing. I don't have any great ideas. I'm not a musician. I mean, I can sing a little bit, but but I don't know. I suppose my thoughts are just about that whole stuff about collective action and making connections with more people and shared messages. They're the only thoughts I have, really. And yeah, that's it. Mm. And obviously listening better, as Pete said, and trying to understand more. All those sorts of things are just they're the sorts of things that come to my mind. And then we've got political strategies like universal basic income. Yeah. So,
Thanks, Keith. And now we go to South Africa. Chris, you are working with food banks there. What's the situation at the moment in South Africa, and how could we support something happening there together?
Thanks, Marcus. It's hectic, just like everywhere. What has been happening, issues of supporting people with food. I hear a colleague in Los Angeles talking about sharing food, making food available to those who don't have. This is an issue that is widespread. In South Africa, we've been doing a lot of food parcels distribution since the start of the COVID lockdowns, and we are continuing at the moment with support from a number of organizations. What we intend to do at this point in time is that we are now limiting those who are able to benefit. Initially, we opened it to as many people as possible because we knew a lot of people were caught in the lockdown. But now that the lockdown has stopped, we are now concentrating on those who originally do not go out to work, who do not have any source of income, who we have classified as extremely vulnerable. Talking about Action Monday, what we can do for 1 hour. Poverty is a multi-dimensional thing. I'm not very sure if there's anything we can really do under 1 hour, but like my colleague from In Controls talked about, we could try to reach out to more people, make more connections, and send the message out there so that we continue to expand the movement. That is what I think we could achieve in 1 hour. But on the ground in South Africa, we'll just continue with our distribution of food parcels, and we'll continue to see if we can identify more vulnerable people and if we can get access to those who continue to support what we are doing. Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you, Chris. It was lovely that you could join us.
Always my pleasure.
How about Mary? What's the situation in Los Angeles? There's a lot of things going on, and we have experienced, for example, poor people's movement in No Labels, No Walls, a lot of campaigns. But what is your idea? What can we do in an hour together?
Yeah, well, we are almost still here, kind of a lockdown in LA. Not a lot of places are open, but I was just thinking, in 1 hour, I think it's great that there's so many people from different places and from different fields. So just to, because I like what Varun was talking, it was so wonderful about going to the communities and work for them, and that's also what the Strindberg Laboratory has been kind of planning, even to do the work with the communities, and whether we are a theater company, but to go to the communities and give what you can give. So I think us coming together in 1 hour everybody can really, like, until we meet next time and you know, have the 1 hour meeting, so everybody has their own ideas, and then all the groups and all the people can kind of assimilate those things and expand their own ideas, what they can do. So I think that's at least how I see the benefits, and hopefully things will change also here in Los Angeles, that we can work with the people and really you know, connect, and then that way start making the difference the way everybody are able to do. That's how I see. But I'll just hope things will get better. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Mary. Pia.
Hi. Yeah, thanks very much for all the ideas. What just came to my mind while I was listening to Mary was like, rather than thinking, okay, what can we do in this 1 hour, but maybe what can each of us do during a week for 1 hour? What can we give? You know, what can I give of my time? You know, can I do something that I usually would take a lot of money for, maybe for nothing or just for less? Can I just sit down with someone and listen to them? Or, you know, because I think, you know, poverty, or like somebody who's poor, is just the other side of a coin of somebody who's very rich. And, or, you know, like it's like you can't have one without the other. And I think it's important to become aware of the own greed also. You know, if I'm not aware of my own greed and how I try to save time, how I try to save money, how I try to get more out of everything, you know, I won't change anything. How can I, you know, if I'm very greedy myself, how can I, and I'm not saying that any of you is, but I know I'm quite greedy, you know, I can only speak for myself, but to, you know, to just become aware of how I, you know, what does poverty mean to me? And then maybe do the opposite. You know, 1 hour a week, that can be, if you divide it over 7 days, it's 10 minutes a day, you know, listen to someone, you know, because I think the financial poverty is just one expression of the poverty of the spiritual poverty that's going on in the world. So yeah, that's me. Thanks.
Thanks, Pia. Now the floor is open to you who haven't said anything yet. So who would like to continue?
Yes, thank you very much. This is Sheila Mishra from India. I just would like to add and tell a little about the philosophy of India. India always believed in a global family. And we know that when we think that somebody is our family, then we automatically take care. But this family concept itself is like in trouble. So not even the family itself is treated like a family nowadays. So the thing is that the poverty is more in our thinking, the way we think, the way we consume, the way we live, the way we think we are related with others. So I would just like to tell you that till 15th century, India was contributing almost 60% of the world economy. And even 300 years ago, we were contributing at least 1/4 of the world economy. So why was it? The philosophy in India was that the food was not for sale. The gold was not for sale. The education was not for sale. The relationships were not for sale. So all those things were only consumed in a very, very thoughtful way, and rest of the things were left for everybody who was needing that. So it was the philosophy, it was the consciousness which makes you to consume in a logical way. And when we consume in a logical way, there is enough for everybody's need, as we know, but there is not sufficient for greed. So can we just tell the people, can we just sensitize the people that we are the part of this whole cosmos? We don't exist in isolation. So we have to exist together. We can't be in a good condition if our fellow beings are deprived of certain things. So we everybody around the earth, we are a family, and everybody has to have everything which is needed by them. So by ensuring the well-being of others, we are simply ensuring the well-being of our own self. So if we can just propagate the idea that everybody is a part of this, the Mother Earth, we have to revere the Mother Earth. We don't have to exploit it. We have to take only which is necessary for our sustenance. We don't have to just keep on digging, 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 and taking as much as we possibly can. So the raising of the consciousness level, that can also go a long way, which I think Mr. Varun Vidyarthi is striving hard with his Manvodaya. So it is not only the concept of economy or the infrastructure or the education, the way we think. It is more of a problem of raising the consciousness level and thinking that everybody belongs to each other and we have to take care of everybody so that we all can live without poverty. So this is my take on poverty. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sheila. And we will meet in a week because you're hosting the next week. So the discussion continues. So we are the story of No Labels is also the story of people coming together to even think about shared action. A lot of people are already, they have the solution and they're doing great job locally. But we are also here learning about good things happening and also thinking that could there be something that we could do together, even in 10 minutes a day or 1 hour in a week. But Anne, do you have already your ideas for the future from Norway?
No, I'm sorry. I think I will join you next time from the beginnings, and then I will try to have something to say. I feel like I don't really grasp what you are discussing. I would prefer not to start just talking just to talk.
No, no problem. Neasley.
I do want to, given what Professor Sheila said, I want to share and take that understanding to a level that we've been dealing with. So one of the conversations we've been having in my communities within the church is the concept of decolonizing the mind. And I think one of the challenge has been that given the majority of the people who've been colonized also has this mindset of being consumers, right? Because when colonialism comes into wherever it came into, it was about greed, it was about power, it was about money, and it was about stripping the land and the people of everything they had. So although the colonial powers have left somewhat, the mindset is stayed behind. And so you had communities, indigenous communities, who understood that if one failed, they all failed. But if one succeeded, they all succeeded. Now, after having been colonized, aside from the fact of even hating their own skin, really have stopped learning how to work for the shalom of everyone. And so what has happened is, just like Professor says, is that you have a lot of people who really is like, well, all for me, right? And so that is probably the mind, that what we can do in an hour is really talk about how the colonization has really stripped people of this idea of togetherness and this idea of how I can help the other. And so I grew up in a household, and we were always told, no matter how successful you are, if you have aunts and uncles back home who are struggling, then you're struggling. And that's kind of like the mindset I was raised with. But not everybody has had that. So there is this space now you find everybody's grabbing. There's this big grab game. And that's what causing really, that's like, I think the undergirding of the large of the poverty that we're seeing, even in America. I mean, in America, land of the free, one of the greatest, richest countries in the world, has some of the most abject poverty that I have seen. And I'm from Haiti. I have seen things in America that I didn't see growing up in Haiti, right? And so I think there is something to that. I think those are things, maybe mindsets are things that we can actually focus on, because that's going to be the foundation of any action that we take.
Thank you, Neasley. And
That's really great. I'm really happy that you understood what I wanted to communicate. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. You jogged my mind.
thank you, Neasley. Thank you, Sheila. Simon is commenting here and talking about colonialism is brilliant idea, and a lot of brilliant ideas we have received today from Mr. Varun Vidyarthi and Manavadaya. I have a question for Varun. So you're an expert in focusing on things, and there's a lot of ideas on the table. But how can people democratically and equally get into a decision what to do? Do you have something on this topic? How can we choose what to do on the 26th of October?
Marcus, this question is to me.
Yes, Varun.
Marcus, the way we usually do it here at Manvodaya, because we have been having these reflective sessions for a long time, is to pick up one of the themes. Now, Simon is suggesting colonialism as one theme. Sheila and Leslie has been talking about similar issues. But, colonialism can be again seen from many perspectives. As Leslie was also saying, it is about colonizing our mind. Can we talk about, I'm just saying because of so many people saying so many things, can we talk about ways in which we are able to, remove the garbage from our mind, keep the mind calm? This is a mechanism that can help everyone, in fact, through one can call it, different people have different names for it. But in India, it's that is what is called yoga, calming of the mind. The whole process of removing the colonies from the mind, the prejudices, the values, the biases, the preconditions, all kinds of notions that we have. Is there a process through which we can clear them gradually? We can't clear them. It's a long effort. But can we start a process of examining our thoughts, examining our, let us say, biases, come out with them as far as possible, and come to a conclusion, therefore, that is there a way to clean the biases from our mind, remove the colonial aspects in the mind?
Thank you, Varun. Any ideas? How would you like to proceed? The Padlet is open still, and it will be presented also on the No Labels, No Walls Facebook group and on the Facebook page, at least until next week. So please join in and put your ideas there. Michael has been doing a lot of polls lately. So we will have a poll about our shared action, and we can continue the discussion online next week too, because we are having a discussion about the future of the No Labels, No Walls movement together with our friends in Citizen Network and We Are One Community. So please join in next week. But before we do, I will have the final word for our session host, Michael Bierman. Are you still there, or Mary? Hi, Mary.
Hi. Yes, I'm sorry, Michael had to leave, so I'm here instead of Michael. Thanks for everybody. This was so inspiring, and of really to expand the mind. What is really poverty? Because I also believe that it's of course literal poverty, but also spiritual and creative poverty. So I think in 2 weeks it would be great to really start sharing all the actions. And I love the yoga, the the how to clear your mind, because I'm learning as well with my yoga teacher here in Los Angeles, who did the workshop in our festival. So next week is the planning of how the festival will continue. So welcome everybody, and any ideas, please bring for that meeting as well. It was great to be here this morning, for me, to get ready to take actions of spreading wealth of well-being to everywhere we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And Sheila will be hosting next week. And please join the same link works also next week. And please bring a friend. So we will plan what is happening during the Action Mondays, and also about the future of the festival. There's already a lot of good ideas how we can collectively design something that never people have been able to experience before. So let's put our mindset into the future, into the today. And I wish you all a very nice week. And thanks again, Varun, for joining us again. We shall continue together. And I would like to also invite all of you who are here for the first time. So we are having Action Mondays every Monday, the same time, the same channel, and for this week onward also streaming live. So our network is becoming larger. If you're not already a member of the Facebook group, please join. And if you are not yet on the email list, please put your email to the chat. My name is Markus Vähälä from Finland, and I will collectively wish you all very well. Goodbye.
Bye.
Have a great week.
Bye-bye. See you all soon.
Bye-bye.
Marcos.
Just a minute.